So there was a commission meeting in Nevada, in Las Vegas this morning. It was about the UFC 229 post-fight brawl between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor. Both of them, as expected, were indefinitely suspended pending a disciplinary hearing, which is going to be in December. I believe that date is December 10th. And that is when we will find out how much they will be suspended, for how long, if they will be fined, how much they will be fined for. That is really D-Day when it comes to this particular, I guess, commission protocol. Today was kind of just a formality. The other important thing coming out of this hearing was that Khabib Nurmagomedov, who had his $2 million guaranteed purse withheld the night of UFC 229 pending the investigation into this brawl, and he's getting back $1 million of that as of this hearing. So they're going to release half of it to him. They're going to keep half of it. And again, the rest will be kind of pending what they decide to do on December 10th at the kind of ultimate hearing in front of the commission. And that's going to be really the big one.
So my immediate takeaway from basically what happened this morning, like you said, I think a lot of it was expected, right? So this is basically step 2 in a 3-step process. The initial 10-day suspension they got after UFC 229, that can only last 10 days. So they just needed to do something temporary. This one is more of an indefinite one until they can get things figured out. And I mean, we've seen it in the past with things like Nick Diaz and John Jones, and these commission meetings can keep getting rolled over. And all of a sudden you think you're supposed to wait a month. It ends up being 6 months. The negotiations that goes on behind the scenes, this could take longer than December, but right now it seems like December's the date. So this was step 2 of just that 3-step process of getting to that finalized, discipline hearing. This wasn't the discipline hearing. This was just a hearing for the temporary suspension.
They very well could, like you said, Shaun, the two athletes and their teams could ask for a continuance and could have their hearing at a later date. It doesn't have to be December. That's the date that the commission is targeting to have it at, but it doesn't mean that it actually has to happen on that date. And also one other thing too that I want to mention, Anthony Marnell, the chairman, said that he would like Nurmagomedov and McGregor to both be there in person, which is not always the case for some of these hearings. He wants them to both be there in person, which is another kind of interesting note because they're going to be in the same room again for the first time since UFC 229.
Pay the man his money. What the hell is going on at this point, man? Pay the man his money. It is utterly ridiculous that they are talking about that they're doing all of this flexing at this point. We could ban you for life. They're talking about taking Khabib. They could potentially take Khabib's pay-per-view money, which has nothing to do with him. And now they're only giving back half of his purse. It is all so, as you said, and as the great Lucas Middlebrook once said, capricious and arbitrary. It all is so ridiculous. This circus that we follow with no oversight. There's no one in place to check these guys. They can basically do whatever they want. Pay them damn man his money. He earned that $2 million. You can fine him the money later on if that's what you feel like you need to do. But at the moment, pay him his money. That's the most ridiculous part of this to me in what was otherwise a pretty innocuous meeting.
One more thing too, Shaun, on top of that is they were also saying that the commission could also take a percentage of not just the guaranteed purse, which has kind of been protocol over the years where you just take what the guaranteed commission purse is. The commission is now saying they can take the entire purse. That includes the guaranteed purse, pay-per-view, bonuses, what have you. And another thing that Marnell said at the hearing was that Nurmagomedov probably made somewhere in the range of $5 to $6 million total at UFC 229. So it isn't just the $2 million that they're targeting. They could look to try to take a percentage of the whole thing, which is something they've never done before. So I thought that was interesting that he brought that up as well.
But I mean, that seems about all there is to talk about regarding this. Again, I think that it's ridiculous that they won't just pay the man his money. It is a flex. It's unnecessary. They obviously paid Conor McGregor his money, and the whole thing, everyone was at fault. If you're gonna punish one guy, you have to punish the other equally. I know this is all after the fact, but it's silly regardless. Is there anything else you want to add before we jump into the actual show, or do you think we got this?
Again, today was just kind of a formality. It was kind of pretty much assumed what they were going to do. The one thing that was kind of unknown is what they would do with Khabib's purse. So now we know that he's going to get half back, and they're going to hold on to half of it. And they were saying funny things like, flight risk, and we want to make sure it's a big enough amount of money to make sure he comes before the commission. Look, the guy's he's the UFC lightweight champion. He's not going anywhere. He's got to fight.
Fight in Nevada. He's got
to fight. So that was kind of maybe, in some cases that if it's like a middle of the card guy or a lower card guy who, hey, maybe he'll just fight overseas. Khabib Nurmagomedov is gonna have to fight again in the United States. He's not gonna just blow off the commission. It doesn't matter if they're withholding the $1 million, but that's another thing.